Uyandiva kodwa?
Ndikuva kakuhle nawe uyandiva.
Hayi, ndiyakuva. Andinawuhlazeka kaloku mna yam i-intanethi ibe unstable kodwa ndilapha. Andinawuzihlaza ola.
Hayi, ndiyakuva.
And yazi last week I had an i-podcast. No, I don't know if uyamazi Umam Gobhozi uyi-YouTuber naye.
Mm.
Une-channel, it's like a gossip channel. Yeyi,
Okay.
sizame sancama. I-AI yam e-unstable.
Ewe.
Ihlazo elinjalo.
Kodwa kaloku nina nimele uba niphaa kwi-first world kaloku nina.
Kunjani?
Sinyamezela apha kweli cala, yazi uba izinto ezidibene nabantwana abancinci neentsana zethu. Ndithi asilali apha kweli cala thina.
Niyathuthuzela.
Ewe mani, yiyo lo mntana ulale emini uyavuka ke ngoku ebusuku ndiqomba yeyi khawulale wena.
Unangaphi?
Uzal nenyanga enye namhlanje.
Hayi, oh hayi ke nam ndikuleyo cause owam ngokaDisemba.
Eh.
Yeah,
NgokaFebruwari, 13 kaFebruwari.
oh, okay. Almost
Eh,
Valentine's.
Besithe kugqirha uba uzomkhupha namhlanje awuzomkhupha ngomso.
Ngoba nifuna utya iValentine's kamandi angayixubi.
Kaloku sifuna uzityela kaloku iValentine's yethu.
Welcome guys to another episode of Living Abroad. Even though it's living abroad, but I had to interview you.
Hmm.
Kunjani tata khawuzintroduce ebantwini abangakwaziyo.
Ndithi ke ndingumnu Khaya kwaba ndaziyo kula makhasi onxibelelwano.
Mm.
Xa bakhumshayo ke ngoku abanye bathi bandinguBruce. Kodwa elo gama siyalishiya ecaleni okwangoku kaloku sithetha isiXhosa apha silapho kweli cala lesintu.
Mm.
Um ke ndingukhaya lethu, unyana wokuqala. Ndingumqwathi, uDikela, uNoni, uNtswayibana, uXasendlela, inkomo zikaXesibe, zikaJojo.
Yay!
Um ke ndiyavuya kakhulu ukuba lapha nawe namhlanje. Enkosi nakuwe ngokundivulela eli thuba elihle.
Mm.
Ndithemba ukuba sizoqhuba kakuhle sincokole. Ndingutitshala ke wesiXhosa,
Mm.
abantwana amahlelo, imihla ngemihla,
Mm.
xhalo nezaci. Kodwa ke andifundisi isiXhosa kuba ndithanda ukufundisa, ndithanda isiXhosa.
Mm.
Yiyo loo nto ke ndifuna ukunika abantwana ithuba lokuba bafunde isiXhosa.
Mm.
Hayi ukuthetha kodwa nenkcubeko yakwaXhosa, nezinto ezibalulekileyo ezihambelana nesiXhosa.
Mm.
Eh,
That's why
eh,
I was even like struggling. But should I do this interview nge-English?
Sifake isiXhosa akho ngxaki.
Bawudibana nathi phambili abangasaziyo, bawudibanisa.
Ewe.
Wonke umuntu uzoba shocked that umuntu omhlophe uyabo uthetha isiXhosa ngeli hlobo. I mean, and sometimes I will say usithetha more than amanye amaXhosa, especially lama 2000.
eh,
So ikhaya lethu eligama ukhulele phi, ungubani, uzalwa phi, abazali bakho ngobani?
ewe. Ndibuzwa kakhulu ke ngoku lo mbuzo.
Mm.
Kaloku abantu babona engathi uba lo mfo umhlophe qhwa njani isiXhosa esiphuma ngolu hlobo. Ndizalwe
Kabanike
efama ke
nge-English, kabanike nge-English tata ukho bakhe
nditsho
baku-understand.
nditsho ngesiNgesi.
Yeah.
Oh, hayi kulungile. So I was born and raised on a farm in the Eastern Cape, ne? And um, this opportunity that came by means of, I suppose, my parents' intent for my life. My biological parents
Mm.
are the ones that look after the farm. It's their farm. They run the farm, and ultimately what they did is they needed to work during the day. So I needed somewhere to go. I needed someone to look after me.
Mm.
So what I'd do is I'd wake up very early in the morning and we'd go and we'd milk the cows. I'd come back to have breakfast. After that, my mama and Tumele, she'd send me with a nappy under my arm and said, "Now get on Makulu, you can go to Makulu." And I'd walk like 200-300 meters. Makulu would be waiting for me at the gate. Um, and that would be the last at sunrise, basically. And then I'd go to Umzika Makulu and I'd have breakfast again, ditumpokoko,
Mm,
umngqusho, and that would be me gone until that evening.
mm,
Uma would bring me back, it would be bath, supper, bed. So I basically spent a whole day being raised by Umakul.
mm. So
When I was
umakhulu
old
were in
enough,
nursery, umakhulu were in a crèche, like what we will call a nursery. Oh,
I
umakhulu was just your
she
nanny.
was, she was basically just my nanny, but ultimately the other children also on the farm.
Mm,
So she inadvertently became their nanny as well because the other children's parents were also working on the farm.
mm, mm,
And so she just coincidentally became their nanny. And so ultimately she was babysitting, child minding, whatever one wants to call it,
mm,
ultimately educating 5 or 6 children at a time
mm.
and overseeing their well-being. She was a boxing referee. She was a cricket umpire. She was a dietitian. She was a doctor. She was many things
Shout
to
out to
all of us.
umakhulu.
Hey, hi, Ndixele, cool. And you know, uh, the most patient and incredible person that one could really meet with the most infectious smile and
Mm,
laugh. And during that time, you take it for granted that this person is their responsibility or work that they must be looking after you. And it's now in my adult life that I look back and I think, wow,
mm.
wow, what an imprint that person's had on my life to get me to where I am now. Um,
So there
yeah.
was no compromise to umakhulu. So everyone spoke isiXhosa.
Kaloku umakhulu doesn't speak any English.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the only way to communicate with Umakul. And my biological father, actually, he was the one who was like, "Hey, Nina, my biggest concern," and funnily enough, I find myself in his shoes now today. My biggest concern is that my children don't speak Xhosa.
Mm. Your father's fears was that.
Was that for me?
Mm,
However, he was fortunate that I was in an environment where I had to speak Xhosa. I'm
mm,
in a far more challenging position where my children are not going to be raised in an environment where everybody around them is speaking Xhosa. The
mm.
only person really consistently speaking Xhosa of my children is me.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
only speak Xhosa of my children.
So do you think you can be umakhulu to them and pass it down? Is it how
You see,
hard is it?
it's very easy to be umakulu to them.
Mm.
But it wasn't just umakulu, it was all my friends who would speak Xhosa to each other.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Everybody spoke, the only person arguably that really spoke English to me on a daily basis was my mother.
Mm.
She was arguably the odd one out.
Wow.
And but she also had this intent to be practicing isiXhosa and to be communicating in isiXhosa wherever and however possible. But coming from the background and environment that she grew up in, she didn't necessarily have that opportunity.
Mm.
So she was the one that would be the one that arguably our English that's where our English came from.
Mm.
Um, and then when we did start at a creche, then that was English as well. But still, the isiXhosa was there, and I think one of my good friends, he was a couple few years older than me. He went to school. He had to go and start school in grade 1 somewhere else.
Mm.
Now I didn't see my friend anymore, and I was so sad and upset that I didn't speak any isiXhosa for one whole week. My father was
That was a
like,
culture shock for you.
this child is not gonna, he's gonna lose isiXhosa. Hey, my friend came back that first weekend, exactly where we left off.
But I mean, in South Africa, particularly, there's a lot of Omakulu in that
Mm,
era. I mean, if you watch Sarafina, anyone who has
mm.
watched Sarafina, the Sarafina's
Yeah.
mom who lives or Sarafina in the township and go and look after these kids. And I mean, there's not enough appreciation of people like that.
There isn't enough appreciation, but there's also not enough impetus that is put on, and unfortunately in South Africa it becomes a race-based thing. No? Okay, so I'm not a politically correct person. I say the things that other people are too scared to say. There's not enough impetus that white people who have got nannies that are from Xhosa, isiZulu, Siswati, Sesotho background, insisting that the nannies speak their home language to their children.
Mm,
Consistent. Even when they go away to school, that they come back and they're still speaking that is seen
mm,
to this child. And I think if we put more appreciation and intent on that, but on the other side, it's also that the nannies feel like that they're obligated in their workplace to be communicating in the child's home language, and that's not necessarily the case
mm,
at all. Um, so there's going to be a lot of discomfort that comes from making this move. We're currently looking for a nanny for when my wife goes back to work for the first time. One of my conditions, prerequisite, you must be able to speak isiXhosa.
so that you
And
can
you'll only
communicate.
speak isiXhosa in my house unless you absolutely cannot get something through to my wife, then you can speak English. Otherwise, we speak isiXhosa.
Mm,
Because that's the importance that I want to place on language and language development in my children.
mm. Like,
But
yeah, and why do you think your father was like, where was your father from? Like, what
he,
generation?
he is born in 1963, so he is of a generation that was actually didn't necessarily wholeheartedly have an appreciation for isiXhosa.
Mm,
That is a communicative one. It's an employer speaking to an employee.
mm,
That was as far as there wasn't an appreciation per se.
mm.
And I think he saw that differently.
Yeah.
He saw that this was about me and you being able to communicate on the same level.
Mm,
Me showing you an appreciation.
mm,
And he would always say to me, like we'd go to a petrol station in the Western Cape when I was a lot younger, and he would say to me, "Watch this," and then he'd go and he'd speak in isiXhosa, and next thing he's like best friends with everybody,
mm,
and that's privilege. That's what white privilege looks like, right? Because we don't have Xhosa people enjoying that same privilege when they speak English.
mm. Yeah.
People are going to be listening to us speak, and they're going to be wowing at me, but they're not going to be wowing at you speaking English.
No,
So it's a
exactly.
it's a privilege thing, and he would never maliciously take advantage of that privilege.
Mm,
And I think that's where I learned that appreciation. Use the privilege, but never take advantage of the privilege at the expense of somebody else.
mm,
And with that came an appreciation. So he showed me, okay, it's a close is going to take you somewhere. It's going
mm,
to open doors for you. But always remember that this is a close is not yours.
mm,
This is a close was a gift, arguably, that was bestowed upon you by other people.
mm.
So you must do justice to Oma Kulu that brought you up.
Wow. That is so amazing. That is so amazing, like of your father, and I hope you can pass that down to your children as well. And what do you think, like, if most like white South Africans had the same mentality, especially when it comes to language? You know how divided our country is. How do you think like language could have played a role in kind of like
Our
bringing people together?
our country, I'm going out on a whim here. Our country isn't as divided as our politicians try to make it, and that they make it out to be.
Mm,
Our country is divided by a lack of people trying to build bridges or knowing where to build those bridges or how to build those bridges to unify people using language.
mm,
So why are we not making more of an effort in our institutions to be speaking languages, different languages?
mm,
And so often we see it as a competition. It's not a competition.
mm.
It's
It's
a
either my
learning.
language or your language. It's
Yes.
either, yeah.
It should be our languages. I don't know yours, therefore I have a deficit. You don't know mine, therefore you have a deficit.
Mm,
Yes, of course, especially is experiencing and has experienced a great deficit because of our past and a
mm,
lack of opportunity and a lack of research. Um, so this is an opportunity for isiXhosa to really say, actually, we're going to put our stake in the ground now and we're going to work to be teaching people isiXhosa. Stellenbosch University is now funding. They've got funding from external sources. So I'm a teach. I lecture at Stellenbosch University to teach isiXhosa to people that have no exposure.
mm.
Do you know how many foreign people we're having that are coming in and taking up that opportunity? They are not just foreign from other countries, but they are Tswana speakers, they are
Mm,
Sotho speakers, they are Sotho speakers. They're coming to this Xhosa class.
mm. Which university is
Isn't
this?
that such a beautiful thing? That this is not even a race thing. This is a
Mm.
language thing.
So
This
which
is
university, sorry, which university is it? Is it Fort Hare University
Stellenbosch University.
or Stellenbosch University? Okay.
Reputation in South Africa with regards to language. I think they're making big steps and strides in the right
Mm,
direction at creating these opportunities. A contact course, basic isiXhosa and introduction for free. And
mm,
with Stellenbosch's reputation in South Africa, I think it's really a big step in terms of language development and their commitment to that. And these students are taking up this
mm,
opportunity, and it's so great to see students from all different walks of life, whether they're from another country or different part of South Africa, or even local Stellenbosch students are taking up that
mm.
opportunity.
Didi, what do you think about like, because I have some friends in South Africa, ne? So the choice sometimes is umntanam uzawufunda if ndifuna umntanam asazi isiXhosa uzawufunda elokishini. But then uyayazi izikolo zaselokishini zinjani. So it's like it's either umntanam ufunde elokishini afunde isiXhosa or else xa ndimsa kuma-suburbs akazusifunda isiXhosa uzasiluza isiXhosa. It becomes a choice to some people.
Ndiyakuva, but I think that there needs to be in more English and Afrikaans development elokishini, and there needs to be more isiXhosa development in the suburbs. And I think that that balance needs to be struck with the student. So there also needs to be
Mm,
a balance between if you're doing a first additional language, it mustn't be taught at home language level because they're doing English already at a home language level, generally speaking. Let students learn to
mm,
love their language. Don't kill their
mm,
love for for your language. You need to create it.
mm. Then, I mean, what do you think of like places like Orania, for instance, where they just like hell bent on it's our culture, it's our language, we're not allowing anyone within South Africa?
So I think you're arguably going to get places like that. And it's not just Orania. There are other places similar to it around the country that we are just less formalized in that sense. For me,
Mm,
if people want to isolate themselves in that way, let people isolate themselves in that way. This is not an important place in terms of South Africa tourism, a place that people need to live, to work. It's not creating a barrier
mm,
to any specific person. It's arguably it's private land that people have made into a town or city, and they are isolating people. Bayeke, man, bayeke. They can live there by themselves and have their own ndaba there. We don't want anything to do with them, actually. If that's how they want to
mm,
be. And I'm sure, and I'm not trying to in any way support what is happening there, but I'm sure that there are other places in South Africa that I wouldn't be welcomed because I'm white. You must see the 10 negative comments and what those look like and how personal people get.
Hey, you also get abuse on the internet.
Now, I really believe that I'm probably one of the most diplomatic people on the internet. I don't go out looking for trouble on the internet. But there will still be people
But
that will come and find something wrong with whatever I'm saying or doing.
so what sort of like negativity? Because I can't imagine anyone being negative to what you are doing. So what sort of negativity would you get?
Okay, I'm just gonna get my phone out. I'm gonna just go and find because I actually yes. So here's the comment. I did a baby announcement. How sweet, how cute. Nothing, untoward or political about it.
Yes.
Ach, futsek, uhamba kutra.
Oh, this is after the whole Trump thing. Uthi akafutheka hamba uye ku-Trump.
Yeah. Which I'm like, there are others
Mm.
that can be far worse as well.
So what is the worst like comment have you like got on the internet?
It's just mainly as people just using absolutely horrific language and basically telling me that I've got no place delving into anything Xhosa orientated, and that has got nothing to do with me, and I must basically go back to wherever I came from. And when I say it goes so much deeper than that, you know, nobody owes me anything in this country. No one owes me anything.
Mm,
And I accept and I acknowledge that I eat bread every day because of the privilege that I have. Yes, well done to me for making the privilege work because a lot of people don't know how to make it work while giving back or doing something useful instead of taking advantage. But I can honestly say that I do more for isiXhosa as a language, okay, than
mm,
almost every single person that's posted a hateful comment about me.
mm,
So you're busy posting a hateful comment about me, yet you are doing nothing to make isiXhosa better, to
mm.
make as a language, as a culture, to do a service to Xhosa people.
Who gave you the name Ukhaya Lethu? Is it Umakhulu?
It was Umakulu along with one of the other people that also helped Umakulu look after us. And it's because I'm the oldest son for my parents or Ikaya when they are frail.
Oh, so Makhulu explained to you that when you are the oldest
Uh,
son in your family, so you have to take care of the.
ngumsebenzi othile kuba nguwe omdala.
Thank you so much for joining us. And it's such a shame with the internet being so unstable. And I hope we can do this again and dive into like with more details. And just lastly, like where are you based now? What are you doing? Where can people find you?
Mm. So at the moment, I'm based in a small town outside of Paarl, Cape Town, called Franschhoek. I
Mhm.
am
Wine,
teaching.
wine.
Yeah. Shaitan, the one year drop. I'm also responsible for the junior boys in the hostel. Um, and
Mhm.
yeah, this is my ninth year teaching at the school and growing isiXhosa from not having had it in grade 7 to now offering it as a first additional language for the fourth time in matric. So it's been a lot of growth, and we're really, really excited about what the future holds for the school and for isiXhosa as a first additional language in this region.
Mm. And also, what did you find in Cape Town regarding to Xhosa? It is like a lot of work that still needs to be done.
There's a lot of work that still needs to be done in South Africa. The biggest challenge that we have is attitude. When attitude changes, we'll see a need. And when people start seeing a need, we'll start seeing opportunities arising for good isiXhosa teachers to be teaching.
Yes, last 5 minutes. Where can
Uh,
people find you on the internet? You do like online classes as well, right?
I do on special request. Um, so YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm available on all of those channels. Mnu Khaya, MNU_Khaya, Khaya. And yeah,
Mm.
I encourage people to reach out. Being able to assist, I think, mainly in the corporate spaces at the moment. Individual classes can become quite expensive for people to do, but it's not impossible. But obviously, best to have a group of 5 or 6 people that are committed over a certain period of time. And also depending on what people's goals are and what they expect to have as their outcomes of learning isiXhosa.
And for people like ourselves, where we are abroad and we are Xhosa speakers, I mean, for me, I tried with my kids because they can understand everything, but ukuthetha back, it's a struggle. Bayayiva yonke into endiyithethayo.
That's the
Mm.
exact issue that I'm facing, right? Because my child is not forced
Mhm.
to speak isiXhosa, but she's forced to hear it from me. And I think the
Mhm.
big mistake that I made with her is that I let her know that I understood her when she spoke English. So when she spoke English to me, I responded. If she asked me for water, I got her water. If I said to her, I'm your manamant, she would go and get water. Whereas I should have
Okay.
ignored her when she said, Tata, I want water, and waited for her to say, Tata, ndifuna amanzi.
What advice can you give us being abroad to just like maintain this language so that our children don't lose it? How do we pass it down when we're facing this challenge of English everywhere? Their
Well,
friends speak
I
English.
feel like
They
I'm
speak
abroad as well,
English.
being
Mm.
in the Western Cape. Um, you've got to get them to a point where they understand that they need to speak isiXhosa back to you, one parent at least. And that's exactly what I do with my daughter. So I always insist. Uthini? Ndiyacela tata. Okay, kulungile nantsi.
I just want to thank you, and I just ignore the noise. The internet. Abantu abaku-internet are toxic. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what you are doing. We hope we had like the same courage, passing our language, is pause, to our children so they can pass it down to their children. So for someone to see anything wrong with what you are doing is just insane. So I'll put your details.
Well,
I'll put your details on the description.